Bill O'Reilly joining us now here on News Nation on the phone. Bill, good evening. Thanks for being with us.
Sure, Blake. What can I do for you?
So I wonder, Bill, when you heard of this, like the rest of us, probably mid-afternoon earlier today, what were your first thoughts, Bill, and what are your thoughts this evening, being able to digest some of this?
We live in a dangerous country, and we always have. This is the ninth active assassination attempt on a president, 9 times. And it is heightened because of the volatile political system. But this is nothing new. So we were supposed to do a special tonight on News Nation called Confronting the Presidents at 9 o'clock. And, of course, we're going to delay that until later this week because we have to cover this. But think about what has happened in the country. So Abraham Lincoln was killed. James Garfield, 16 years later, killed. 20 years after that, William McKinley killed. 11 years after that, Teddy Roosevelt wounded, shot in the chest. 1963, JFK assassinated. 1975, Gerald Ford shot at by a Manson follower. He missed him. 1981, Ronald Reagan shot, wounded, almost died. And here in 2024, 2 attempts on President Trump's life. So there is a pattern of behavior in America. We live in a very volatile country. And I think that what we'll find with this Routh character is what we found in Butler. These are mentally ill people with access to weapons who, for whatever crazy, delusional reason, are willing to give up their own life, all right, to try to pull off something like this.
I wonder what you think, Bill, that we will see out of Donald Trump, presumably tomorrow, early this week, this upcoming week, when we see him next. We know how he reacted to the first attempt. And I wonder what you think he will say after now this second attempt.
Well, I have no idea how he's going to handle it. I think you'll hear tonight. He'll probably tweet out a number of things. This is a good opportunity for Donald Trump to reassess his campaign, which is far too controversial. His campaign is far too controversial. He's getting caught up in stuff that doesn't matter. People eating Cocker Spaniels. He's relitigating the election 2020. He's traveling with people of dubious distinction. He has now another chance, with the world focused in on his safety, and good people want him to be safe, all right, to kind of moderate his campaign into purely issues. If he does that, I think he'll win, because I think my belief is that he has a much stronger resume as far as helping Americans than his opponent, my opinion. But he gets caught up in all this personal stuff, which leads to bad unintended consequences, not only for him, but for the country. So I hope he steps back, reassesses his presentation, and makes it 90% about issues. He has to reply to the unfair attacks. He has to. All right? But the centerpiece should be, this is what I accomplished, and here's what I'd like to do in the future. And my opponent really doesn't have very much. So that's what I hope comes out of this.
You know, I hear you, Bill, but I think there's probably some folks listening at home who might say, if he couldn't do that the first time, what makes you think he could do it the second?
I don't think anything. All I'm doing is saying there's a possibility here that he might course correct because it's not helping him to do all the personal stuff. Now, maybe he thinks it is helping him, Blake. Maybe he does. But all the data, and I'm a data guy, shows it's hurting him. So he's got another opportunity now to reassess. And he did that fairly well at the Republican convention, you may remember. but then it got back to same old, same old.
You talk about opportunities, Bill. I wonder what we hear out of the current administration, the current White House. Obviously, President Biden gave a speech from the Oval Office behind the Resolute desk, which, as you know, is as big as they get, not only in all of politics, but really for the President of the United States. We have statements tonight from Kamala Harris, from Tim Walz, the typical that the White House always puts out in these scenarios, that the president has been briefed and is monitoring, so on and so forth. But I wonder what you think, what their responsibility is, the current administration right now, and what their opportunity is, or if and when that happens, will most Americans view it and say, yeah, we heard that already, and here we are again?
The Secret Service, again, is going to be criticized, but keep in mind that Donald Trump has played that course for more than 8 years, exactly how he played it today. And the strategy of the service is to put agents ahead of the game, 4 or 5 holes ahead. Now, it is kind of frightening that some clown with a high-powered rifle can get in shooting range. There's no doubt about that. And I think that needs to be explained. As far as the White House is concerned, it can't do anything. They're all a bunch of phonies, Blake. If they really wanted to control gun crimes and heavy weapons, you would federalize all criminal acts using a firearm. That's the only way you could possibly do it in a nation of 300 million guns on the street. But neither party will even consider that. So it's never going to get solved. And I expect next week you'll hear the left-wingers come out and go, oh, we have to ban this, we have to ban that. It's all a bunch of gibberish. If you federalize crimes and anybody using a gun in any kind of an illegality, it's mandatory prison time, you will cut back this insanity.
So on the Secret Service, Bill, you could make the argument they did their job here, right? I'll work you through both sort of scenarios. You could make one argument that they did their job here. Someone wanted to do harm against Donald Trump, against a presidential candidate, against a former president, and was unable to. You could make the case that obviously the response was significantly different to Butler, Pennsylvania. Or, if that's one side of the coin, the other side of the coin is you could make the case that somebody got far too close again. 300 to 500 yards is not a lot. When you're on a golf course, you know that's not a lot. And I wonder what you think the response and the narrative around the Secret Service will be going forward. Which side is it?
Well, it looks to me like the Secret Service needs a total overhaul. The conceptualization of how to protect presidential candidates has got to be reviewed and heightened. I mean, we had a situation up until about the first Trump assassination attempt where Robert Kennedy Jr. asked for Secret Service protection, and President Biden turned him down. Just think about that for a moment.
Yeah.
So I'm not a guy I'm not looking to blame here. I understand this scenario because I've covered it so many times before. I wrote a book called Killing Kennedy. I wrote a book called Killing Reagan. I know how many mentally ill people are running around this country. And it is horrifying. But anything the Secret Service can do now to conceptualize better protection for Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Walz, all of them, it's worth doing.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.